Welcome to the Global SCM Leaders on Demand. We're on location in Houston, Texas. I'm Joe O'Reilly, senior writer for Inbound Logistics magazine. I'm joined by Gary Kilponen, vice president, global supply chain for Cameron. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Joe.
Gary, I think first off, maybe if you could just tell us a little bit more about Cameron and its operations.
Okay. So Joe, Cameron is a tier one supplier to the energy and oil and gas industry. If you look at kind of what we describe ourselves, is really around flow equipment. So basically, in our businesses, we have 5 different groups where we focus on either surface systems, subsea, valves and measurement, drilling, and also our process and compression systems. But it's really highly engineered quality equipment for oil and gas that's really regulated by a lot of different specs and governing bodies like the American Petroleum Institute.
Okay.
So Cameron's been around for about 150 years, and one of the things we're known for is we were the original designer of the blowout preventer.
Okay. What are some of the, given your position in the oil and gas supply chain, what are some of the complexities, the challenges that you guys have to deal with, on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think there's a couple different areas for sure. One is that we are global. So we not only do we sell into markets all over the world, we also source from India, China, Europe, Russia, and so as we become more and more global, we're dealing with more complex logistics issues, regulation, managing lead times, the cultural barriers in education around making sure that we can work with our supply base to make sure that they're able to deliver the products that we need at the level of quality that we expect. So that's one of the things. The other thing that makes us a little bit more complex is that if you think of kind of the manufacturing models, we have everything from make to stock standard products to configure to order to engineer to order to very, very significant project business. So we have a variety of different business models across our different business units and even within business units, which means we have, literally, hundreds of supply chains and many different kinds of supply chain processes. So how we try to build standard processes, is something that we're really focused on because we need to be sure we take care of each and every one of our customers.
Right. With some of those challenges that you mentioned, what are some of the strategies or business best practices, innovations that you guys are using or working toward to sort of facilitate some of these things?
When I talk about kind of supply chain transformation, I always come back to really 4 things. Planning, leverage, integration, and continuous improvement. So starting with continuous improvement, we've been on the Lean Six Sigma journey for well over 10 years at Cameron. When I talk about integration, that means integrating across business units, processes, plants, et cetera, because, from a career, I had about 10 years in consulting, my experience has been the white space, the handoff between processes and organizations are where always the challenges are, right?
Right.
And that goes with our customers as well as our suppliers. So trying to really more tightly integrate how we do planning, sourcing, manufacturing, et cetera, is really important. And then from a leverage, it's really around kind of leveraging best practices, focusing on category and commodity management to leverage our spend across our businesses. And probably the most strategic one that we're really in the middle of now is how do we improve our planning processes. I think even in the industry in oil and gas, we've come a long way. If you think, when you talk about supply chain in the oil and gas industry, typically the first word that comes to someone's mind is procurement.
Right.
Because people say, there's EPC firms, right? Engineering, procurement, construction. So the concept of kind of integrated holistic supply chain and doing things like integrated business planning, sales and operations planning is an area that we're really focused on in our business, you know, because we're really, really good at the world of APICS and MRP and planning and execution. And what really we're challenging ourselves to do is really take our planning processes and systems to the next level. So we're really, really focused. So really 4 things: planning, leverage, integration, and continuous improvement. So those are the 4 things that we're focusing on as kind of an end-to-end supply chain.
Okay. It's interesting. I had heard, you know, people saying taking the "and" out of planning and execution so that it becomes that kind of seamless process, you know, so it's not thought of separately. So.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's how do you hand it off between a sales and operations planning process into a master production schedule that flows all the way down, right? And then across companies, right? So yeah, that's definitely kind of the holy grail, I guess you'd call it, around end-to-end supply chain.
Very good. Well, that wraps up our time here, so I would like to thank Gary for sharing his insights.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.